they are at the moment facing a real crisis. Meghan and Harry's crisis, completely of their own making, is they have no major projects, no major money earners. And so they're more desperate than ever.
The implosion of the Sussexes. Meghan Markle's Archwell charity scam and as ever lies have finally been exposed, and an astonishing double blow for the fake Duchess.
She is hoping that she's going to become a billionaire off all of this, which again is total insanity. I think the woman's expectations are so unrealistic.
Stop everything, because what Tom Bower just uncovered about Meghan Markle's 2026 financial disaster is not what her PR team wants you to hear. $23 million worth of unsold jam rotting in a warehouse. Archwell Foundation declared delinquent by California. A Netflix show ranking 1,217 on the platform. And a woman who genuinely believed she was on her way to becoming a billionaire. Tom Bower has been right on every prediction so far. And now, what he's saying about how this all ends, you cannot ignore it. Stay with me, because the story doesn't just get shocking. It gets darker before any hint of redemption. Here's where everyone gets it wrong. People glance at Harry and Meghan and think, they're still rich, who cares?
Well, absolutely, but don't even believe that there were 5 options. What you really saw were Harry's and Meghan's fantasy narrative, which they call the truth.
But Bower isn't just talking about money. He's exposing a systematic collapse, one he predicted years ago, that's now unfolding in real time in a way that cannot be spun, hidden, or polished away. He spent years digging into this couple, interviewing over 80 sources, from former staff to royal insiders to Hollywood execs. The picture he's painted is wild. Manufactured ambition smashing into cold, hard reality like nothing you've ever seen. This is a woman who walked away from one of the most powerful institutions on earth, grabbed a $100 million Netflix deal, launched a lifestyle brand, built a charity, and told the world she was going to change everything by 2026. Tom Bower is standing over the wreckage with receipts, and you need to see this. Let's start with the Archwell Foundation, because according to Bower, this is where the darkest truth about this couple really lives.
Their problem is that they've got no future. I mean, as ever, all her products, of course, is a complete disaster. She's got no Netflix series. She hasn't got any project at all. And they are literally wallowing in in a maze where to go. And so predictably.
When Harry and Meghan launched Archwell in 2020, they sold it as a humanitarian mission, named after their son Archie, built to create compassion, service, and change. That was the story they wanted the world to believe. But Bower tells a completely different story. According to him, and the foundation's own publicly filed 990 tax documents, here's what really happened. In 2021, Archwell received $13 million. That was their peak year. Sounds impressive, right? But the cracks started showing fast. By 2024, donations had collapsed to $2.1 million, down from $5.3 million the year before, while total expenses hit $5.1 million.
There's been leaked financial details from the Archwell Foundation that's quite fascinating, because it shows that there's 2 donors who've given one of them $15 million and one $3 million.
Do the math. They spent more than double what came in. And here's the kicker Bower flags as the most damning detail. Of that $5.1 million in expenses, only $1.25 million went to actual charitable work. The rest, nearly $4 million, vanished into salaries, security, travel, and admin costs. That security bill alone, around $2 million a year, straight out of the charity. Can you imagine that? Tom Bower has made it crystal clear. Archwell was never a traditional charity. It was mostly a financial tool for the couple, a way to manage taxes while raking in huge Netflix and publishing money. On its own, that's not illegal. Plenty of wealthy people do it. But here's what makes Archwell completely different. Bower uncovered something shocking.
It was a Channel 5 investigation as to the state of the Sussex's finances. Now, we know they didn't move to a 2-bedroom cottage somewhere in the middle of nowhere. They're living in quite a large mansion in Montecito. And one of the things that Prince Harry made very public when he left the royal family, one of the things that he was quite disgruntled about was the fact that his father basically cut him off financially. So really, they were in a state where they had to make a lot of money and a lot of money fast. He blundered in a video and said, the Netflix deal was an idea that was pitched to him.
At its peak, Archwell had only 5 employees by the end of 2024. And then, during a so-called rebrand, 2 or 3 people, 60% of the team, were suddenly let go. Some were reportedly told the charity was closing, only for Meghan's team to quietly walk that back. The website disappeared without explanation during the rebrand to Archwell Philanthropies. Bauer calls this classic pattern maneuvering. When things go wrong, the story shifts, the website vanishes, a spokesperson appears, and the couple hopes no one notices. But people are noticing. California even issued a delinquency notice, meaning Archwell failed to file paperwork correctly and was technically not allowed to raise or spend money. For a charity claiming to be global and humanitarian, that's not just a bookkeeping error, that's a flashing red warning. Now let's switch gears to As Ever, because if Archwell is a slow-motion collapse, As Ever is a full-blown spectacle.
Years ago, we were talking about Meghan Markle running for president. And just, I mean, what a decline, how irrelevant they've become today. Do the Sussexes still pose an institutional risk, or are they now culturally sidelined?
I mean, an institutional risk to the British monarchy?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. A huge risk.
Really?
Absolutely, because there's no doubt as they become more desperate.
Bauer warned years ago that Meghan's commercial instincts were ego-driven, not grounded in business reality. The proof came fast. When As Ever launched in April 2024, headlines screamed, "Meghan's jam sells out in hours." The PR machine worked. But here's the real story behind the hype. If someone looked closely at inventory on the As Ever store, what they found? Staggering. Meghan Markle is sitting on $23 million worth of unsold products. That's 137,455 fruit spread gift boxes just sitting in a warehouse. In the last 24 hours, only 26 sold. At that pace, it would take 9 years to clear the stock. And these are perishable goods with expiration dates. But wait, there's more. She also has 44,000 orange marmalades, 62,000 candles, and 80,000 flower sprinkles gathering dust.
I want to get into the details of this, Brittany, because the details here matter, given that everything Harry and Meghan do is topspin, trying to convince the world, and very often the mainstream media are sucked in, that everything's okay, but it's really not. And the first revelation in regards to Archwell is that the charity is down to just 2 staffers.
Bauer's explanation is blunt. The original sellout was manufactured hype. She released only a few hundred units, just enough for headlines, then used fake metrics to justify massive orders, thinking curiosity equals loyalty. It doesn't. People tried it once, and that was it. One reviewer even said it tasted like Smucker's at $36 a jar. And Netflix backing for As Ever? According to Bauer, it's minimal at best. The empire Meghan imagined is crumbling under real numbers, not PR spin, and Bauer has the receipts to prove it.
Harry likes to portray Meghan as Diana, but they've got absolutely nothing in common at all.
Now let's get into the Netflix angle, because this is where the story gets really explosive. Everyone thought Meghan's $100 million Netflix deal was her golden ticket. Her ticket to billionaire status, a media empire, and endless influence. But according to Tom Bauer, the truth is far more complicated, messy, and scandalous than the PR headlines ever admitted. Netflix, a company that thrives on numbers, algorithms, and predictability, reportedly cut Meghan and Harry off completely. We're not talking a renegotiated contract or a pause on projects. Bauer reveals it's a full-on breakup. They were kicked off the platform, all their shows shelved, and no new projects greenlit. The streaming giant allegedly had zero tolerance for what it saw as mismanagement, inflated hype, and failed promises. What went wrong?
I believe it is clear exposure of what Archwell really is. A PR project, nothing more. It's disgusting.
It really is, Dan. And one of the things is that Harry and Meghan have always said service is universal. They're going to be doing charity in the States and all these things. And it's just completely and utterly false. It was just a lie from the very face of it. And we've seen this endlessly. Meghan praises herself constantly for being this great humanitarian. But when you really think about it, what has she done? I mean, even before she married Harry, she was part of World Vision.
Bauer says it comes down to one critical factor. Numbers don't lie. When the first projects dropped, the viewership was underwhelming. Netflix relies on real-time engagement metrics, not press releases or headlines. And the numbers? They were reportedly disastrous. Bauer uncovered internal memos showing executives were frustrated. The projects are not resonating. The audience isn't coming back. The investment is not paying off. That's a brutal reality check in Hollywood and streaming. And here's the kicker. The PR machine tried to spin it anyway. Every press interview, every flashy headline tried to make it look like Netflix and Meghan were still partners in innovation. But Bauer's sources say Netflix stopped calling. Production meetings were canceled, and even marketing support vanished. Shows that were hyped as revolutionary were quietly removed from promotion. It's the kind of silence that screams, "We're done."
I'm hearing that they have huge financial problems. That they are eating into capital, and that they sort of, to an extent, been for much of their marriage into some capital, and also he doesn't have that amount of money. People seem to think that because he's the king's son, he's rolling in money. He never was. I mean, in terms of Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates, he's poverty stricken, but they have financial problems, and a part of those financial problems are that Netflix is not funding the manufacture of the produce. The way Harry and Meghan presented the deal was that they would be partners with Netflix.
Meanwhile, there were reportedly contractual penalties lurking in the background. Netflix, according to Bauer, demanded accountability for undelivered content and failed engagement metrics. This isn't just ego. This is a $100 million deal collapsing in plain sight. And it's not like Netflix has patience for anyone. The platform's standards are harsh but fair, and Meghan's projects simply didn't meet expectations. Even worse, Bauer points out that the fallout had ripple effects. With Netflix backing gone, other partnerships began to dry up. Investors and collaborators reportedly hesitated to work with Meghan, worried about the same hype not reality problem. And all the PR spin? It couldn't cover unsold inventory, stagnant foundation donations, and a growing public perception that the brand was overpromised and underdelivered.
The hope was that Netflix would fund, and the fact is that Netflix's funding was very limited for the first line of what was never produced, and because they were not prepared to put up good money on something that was so highly speculative. And the proof of the pudding, Dan, is in the eating of the figures, because according to Meghan, the line was sold out within 45 minutes. That tells you that the produce was in the low thousands. Several years ago, Arnold Scarsese, the great American Canadian couturier, put me in touch with QVC to do a jewelry line. And I spoke to the head of QVC about.
Bauer's reporting makes one thing crystal clear. This isn't just a minor setback. It's a full-scale financial and reputational collapse, and Netflix played a pivotal role. They pulled the plug when the metrics told the real story, leaving Meghan with an empire that looks great on paper but is crumbling in reality. So, if you thought the Netflix deal made Meghan untouchable, think again. Tom Bauer has pieced together a portrait of a streaming giant cutting ties decisively, a brand losing credibility fast, and a woman who thought she could spin everything into gold. But the numbers say otherwise. This is a cautionary tale about power, ego, and the hard truth of entertainment business metrics. Netflix wasn't willing to bet serious money on Meghan and Harry, and that's the brutal truth. The hype, the sellout illusion. It worked on the press, it worked for headlines, but it completely failed with actual repeat viewers. People might have clicked once, but no one came back. And according to Tom Bauer, this is exactly what Netflix is doing to them right now. He calls it slow ghosting, and that's one of the most accurate ways to describe their collapse.
Never believed that my life is open season to be commercialized by these people. To act in the public interest is to interest the public. I fundamentally reject that. Having my life, like others, commercialized in this way since I was a teenager, delving into every aspect of my private life, listening to calls, blagging flights so they could see where I was going. It was a time when everyone was in competition with each other.
The $100 million deal that was supposed to turn them into global content powerhouses quietly became something very different. Netflix didn't renew Love, Meghan for a third season. And Bauer points out they didn't even truly make a second season. It was one season split into two, barely enough content to keep the cameras rolling. The numbers tell the story loud and clear. Love, Meghan ranked 1,217 on Netflix. The holiday special, $1,500. Think about that. A woman with the world's media attention, a massive budget, and a $100 million platform, and she couldn't pull viewers. Bauer's assessment is blunt. Meghan has nothing to say. No originality, no depth, no authenticity. Everything is calculated, rehearsed, and performative. A desperate attempt to become the next Martha Stewart. What viewers actually got? Pretzels being moved from one bag to another and called cooking. Sources Bauer interviewed revealed that Meghan was obsessed with looking perfect on camera, so much that it destroyed any warmth she tried to project.
Money is officially drying up for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. As more and more news of the dissolution of Archwell Foundation comes forward, it's very, very clear that this restructuring is due to a lack of one very, very key thing, which is money. In fact, Harry and Meghan sold themselves to a dinner table at $100,000 a pop to raise money for Archwell.
Real cooks tied their hair back, focus on the food. Meghan focused on looking like a magazine cover, and it showed. It felt exactly like what it was, a performance, not genuine content. Netflix executives realized within 6 months that Meghan couldn't deliver what audiences wanted. People tuned in hoping for a Diana documentary, a tell-all, something juicy. And instead they got flower arranging, jam, and Instagram-style lifestyle content. According to Bauer, the remaining first-look deal is just Netflix quietly backing away without a formal announcement. In entertainment terms, it's the equivalent of not returning someone's calls, a slow, silent shutdown. Meanwhile, as this was all unraveling in California, Harry was in a London courtroom, making things even worse. He was testifying in his lawsuit against the Daily Mail about alleged phone hacking from 2001 to 2013 before Meghan was even in the picture. And yet, in the middle of his testimony, Harry started crying, saying, "They've made my wife's life an absolute misery."
Are they insane? What is happening? There is complete and utter chaos going on. The Meg and Harold are taking their rebrands far too literally at this point. Archwell, their charity effort, has not only changed its name from a foundation to philanthropies, which is even worse branding, I might add.
In a case about things that happened a decade before Meghan even existed, he centered her story anyway. Bauer's assessment? Harry is so completely shaped by Meghan's narrative that he cannot even talk about his own life without centering it on her. It got worse. The judge had to intervene 3 separate times, telling Harry to stop arguing with the opposing counsel and just answer the questions. A high court judge had to repeatedly remind a grown prince to control himself. Meanwhile, Meghan wasn't even there. She was in California, posting on Instagram, while her husband cried on the witness stand about how much the press supposedly hurt her. The contrast is stark. Netflix is ghosting them quietly, their show's flopping, and the media empire they imagined is crumbling in plain sight. Bauer's reporting shows that this isn't just bad luck. It's a systematic unraveling that no spin can save. Here's the hard truth. Netflix didn't just quietly ghost Meghan and Harry. They pulled the plug on their empire.
I mean, extraordinary that the non-disclosure agreements are so draconian, so watertight, that nobody dares sell their story. I mean, that is what's quite astonishingly clever of Meghan and her lawyers to protect their reputation and all the dreadful things that have happened in Montecito behind the high walls. But my book reveals a bit more about that, my future book. But that's a teaser.
According to Tom Bauer, the $100 million deal that was supposed to cement them as global content royalty is now a cautionary tale for anyone chasing hype over substance. What was meant to be a string of hit shows, documentaries, and lifestyle specials has become a masterclass in disappointment, a perfect storm of inflated expectations, failed execution, and corporate patience running thin. Bauer says Netflix executives were initially willing to give them a chance, but they were watching every metric, and the numbers never lied. The audience wasn't engaging. Shows that were hyped as revolutionary barely registered on the platform. Love, Meghan, the supposed flagship, tanked. And as ever, the massive lifestyle brand that was supposed to dominate shelves, $23 million in unsold product, sitting in warehouses, perishable and forgotten.
I do think the problem with Meghan is that she never actually says anything in interviews. It is so carefully controlled, so carefully chosen what she's going to say, that she says really pretty well nothing. Now, is it because she's got nothing to say, or is it because she is fearful that if she did move off the benign script, she would actually get into real trouble? I think it's the latter. She's clever enough to know that to retain her mystery and status, she should reveal nothing about herself.
Netflix reportedly noticed this disconnect and started losing faith fast. The process Bauer calls strategic ghosting. No fanfare, no public fallout, just slow, deliberate silence. Projects weren't renewed, meetings were canceled, budgets were quietly slashed, marketing disappeared. Netflix wasn't just cutting them off, they were retracting the carpet under their feet without writing a single press release. Bauer's sources say this is classic corporate maneuvering. Let the metrics speak and let the illusion of power crumble quietly. And here's the thing, this collapse didn't happen overnight. Bauer points out that Meghan's vision for Netflix content was all ego, not grounded in reality. She wanted headlines, spectacle, and influence, but she lacked originality, substance, and authenticity. Executives quickly realized that the shows looked polished but were shallow, rehearsed performances with zero connection to audiences. People tuned in once out of curiosity, but no one stayed. The brand momentum vanished almost immediately.
Other expenses recorded at $2.9 million. Meanwhile, donations and grants to the group dipped from $5.3 million in 2023 to $2.1 million in 2024. Insiders skeptical of how Archwell, which doled out $1.25 million in grants in 2024, can continue. The source said if they're shooting out grants, then that's a net loss and they're not bringing in that much money.
Meanwhile, the financial consequences started stacking up. Without Netflix backing, other ventures began to flounder. As ever sales stagnated, Archwell donations fell, and investors reportedly became wary. Bauer stresses that Netflix's quiet disengagement sent a ripple through every other project Meghan and Harry tried to push. What was meant to be a media empire was collapsing like a house of cards. Bauer also highlights the irony. This is a couple who claimed they were building humanitarian missions and revolutionary media projects, yet Netflix, the company that tracks real engagement, actual audiences, and tangible results, saw through the illusion immediately. Their metrics didn't lie. They couldn't be spun or polished away. And while Meghan and Harry kept projecting confidence on social media, the reality behind closed doors was bleak and unignorable. In short, Netflix isn't just another platform. They're a mirror reflecting exactly what Meghan and Harry's empire really is. And what it reflects? A brand propped up by PR hype, ego, and manufactured sellouts. Not real success, real engagement, or long-term sustainability.
I mean, an institutional risk to the British monarchy?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. A huge risk.
Really?
Absolutely. Because there's no doubt as they become more desperate financially and reputationally and seeking a purpose, they will do some very foolish things. And whatever Andrew has done, they will double the problem because they will not be controllable from London. So I do think that after Andrew, Charles and William do have this problem with the Montecito royals. Yeah.
According to Bauer, this is the ultimate wake-up call. Even the biggest names, the most glamorous deals, and the flashiest headlines cannot survive without actual results. The empire Meghan imagined is crumbling in plain sight, and Netflix is the silent executioner, letting the numbers tell the story. No spin can change. Tom Bauer has been saying this for years. Sure, Harry made his own choices, but the image of him weeping in a London courthouse while Meghan curated her Instagram feed captures the dynamic perfectly, and it is not flattering for either of them. The optics are brutal, the reality harsher, and Bauer has been warning about this scenario long before the world could see it unfold. If Harry loses this case, legal costs could skyrocket into the tens of millions of pounds. One by one, Bauer's predictions from years ago are landing, and his current take on where this all ends is worth your full attention. The financial situation is genuinely dire. Bauer estimates that Harry and Meghan are living a lifestyle that requires $400 to $600 million just to sustain, while Harry's actual net worth is around $35 to $40 million. They're not technically broke, but without sustainable income streams, they are burning through money fast. Netflix is slowly ghosting them, as Ever has $23 million in perishable inventory selling only 26 jars a day. Archwell has collapsed, and Spotify dropped them years ago.
Come to was never. as Lady Colin Campbell has christened Meghan Markle's lifestyle business. Now, Brittany, you have been on this right from the start. It has been obvious that this business is a disaster.
Harry reportedly even auctioned dinner table access for $100,000 a seat just to raise funds for Archwell. Bauer says that move speaks volumes. If you have to sell people the chance to sit next to you, your brand is finished. Bauer also believes that Harry's aggressive push for UK taxpayer-funded security isn't really about safety, it's about leverage, a way to reinsert himself into UK relevance and open a door to King Charles. But the king reportedly hasn't budged. Despite Harry invoking my father's grandchildren in court, Charles has refused to fund him, keeping a firm boundary. The most dangerous period for the royal family, Bauer warns, is right now. A desperate couple with drying income streams, every incentive to monetize whatever royal access they can still claim. Every speaking engagement, interview, and future book is trading on the institution they say they've left behind, yet they cannot escape its shadow. Bauer said something years ago that rings even louder in 2026. You cannot build a lasting brand on victimhood. Eventually, the audience walks away, not angry, not bitter, but indifferent. And that is exactly where we are today. The anger has faded, the fascination has faded. What remains? A woman with 137,000 unsold jars of fruit spread, a man who cried in a London courtroom about his wife in a case that didn't involve her, and a charity that the state of California officially declared delinquent. From financial records to courtroom transcripts to empty warehouses full of $42 jam, Bauer was right from the beginning. This story is writing its own conclusion, and the fallout is undeniable. And drop your thoughts in the comments and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. Subscribe to Crown Clash. Stay tuned because this story is far from over.